Hello, welcome to the Pursuit of Excellence with me, Anthony Beirudi. Need your help real quick. If you like the videos, hit the thumbs up button right below, and please subscribe to get access to our latest interviews. Hit the subscribe button right there. Also, we'd love to hear from you about our interviews. In the comment section, tell us who you want us to interview or what you thought about the whole thing. Without further ado, enjoy the interview. We're very excited today to be joined by Glen Grunwald, CEO and President of Canada Basketball. Thank you for joining us, Glen.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Anthony.
Awesome. So let's go back in time. So you obviously grew up in Chicago. You were a very good high school player, four-time state All-Star. But how did it start? What got you going with basketball, and kind of where'd you get going?
Well, I happened to grow up across the street from our high school, and the high school was always having open houses for different things, and one of them was the athletic facility. So I think I was in third or fourth grade, and I was already probably almost as tall as my teachers and stuff. So I went over there, and the basketball coach, Norm Goodman, who was an awesome coach and a big part of my life, saw me and he said, "Hey, kid, how old are you?" And I said, "Well, I think I'm, 8 or 9 years old, whatever I was." And he said, "Holy cow, okay, here, take this basketball." It was, I remember to this day, it was a yellow rubber basketball with all these pebbles on it. And he said, "You take this home, you dribble it and shoot it every day. And when you rub all these pebbles off, you come back and I'll give you another basketball." So that's how it started. And then, again, I was able to participate in grade school basketball. It was different back in my day, a long time ago. We didn't have the same club programs or AAU programs or things of that nature. So it was more school-based, and I was fortunate to have a great coach in grade school, and then a great coach in high school. So I was, that's how I got turned on to basketball, and it's been a part of my life since then.
Yeah, no kidding. So you end up going to Indiana University, which at the time was one of the pretty dominant, epicenter schools for the entire country. What was that like, kind of stepping on campus, being coached by Bob Knight? That must have been something special.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. So I went there in 1977. In 1976, they were undefeated. The Scott Make, Quinn Buckner, Ken Benson team. That was the last team in NCAA history to go undefeated. And so I arrived and promptly turned the program right around. Now we had a rough year the first year. It was a young team, and we had a lot of players quitting. But tell you what, it was a great experience to play for Bobby Knight and go to Indiana University, a great school. And I met some great friends to this day, people like Isaiah Thomas and Mike Woodson and things of that nature. And ultimately, we had the chance to play for the national championship in 1981. And we beat North Carolina and we're national champions. So it was overall a great experience. And when I left Indiana, it was a challenging environment, I think, as you know, but I felt that when I left there that I was well prepared for life and that I could, do whatever I wanted to do. I had a sort of a quiet confidence that experience and that success, allowed me to really take on the world. And not that I'm a braggart or anything like that, but I did feel like I benefited tremendously by going to Indiana and playing for Bobby Knight and being around all those good people.
Well, you for sure, you learn work ethic and you learn discipline. For sure, if any of the stories are true, you pick up a couple of those things. And resiliency, I would imagine some resiliency.
Yep.
And people can't really knock you off with some words, I would imagine, nowadays. So those are all very useful tools if you look at it, like in the grand scheme of things. If you can make it through, it ends up being a pretty good thing for you. So you end up actually going back to school at Northwestern to get your JD. What was that like? What made you decide you wanted to be a lawyer?
I had a great professor at Indiana in a business law course, two business law courses actually, Tom Bowers, and he made the subject matter interesting and funny and humorous, and I was able to benefit from that and got interested in that. When I was leaving Indiana, I had the opportunity to play. I actually got drafted by the Celtics, which is kind of an interesting story. My mother, I was doing an internship at an oil company in downtown Chicago that summer, 1981. And my mother called me up and said, "Glenn, someone has played a terrible practical joke on you. They called up and said they were from the Boston Celtics and said they drafted you. why would someone do that to you? And I said, oh, I forgot it was the draft day even. So I called up a friend that worked at a newspaper, said, hey, did I get drafted? And then he looked on the wire service, because that was before the internet, of course, back in the old days. I said, yeah, hey, you got drafted in the 5th round by the Celtics. So that was kind of fun. And I was able to go out to Boston for a training camp and got to play against Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and all those guys. They were actually defending NBA champions that summer. And Danny Ainge was their big signing. He converted from baseball to basketball from the Blue Jays to the Celtics. So it was kind of neat. And, I had the opportunity then to go to play in Europe and stuff like that. But I was ready to get on with my life. I didn't really think basketball was a long-term career for me. And I wanted to get on with being a lawyer. So I went to law school and had fun playing basketball in law school. We won the campus championship a couple of times and played in different leagues around town. And then it was good. So I really, still enjoyed basketball, but I never thought I would make a career out of it. I was going to be a lawyer, and that's what I did for 7 years.
Yeah. So you become a lawyer, and then on top of it, you go back to Indiana and get your MBA. That's a hell of a combo right there. So what made you decide you needed a law degree and then be a practicing lawyer for 7 years, and then on top of it, throw in an MBA?
Well, I was actually redshirted. I was hurt one year. I had knee surgery and missed my junior year. So I was able to stay for a 5th year, but I had already graduated in 1980. So in 81, I went to business school and took courses there. So it was just a matter of, finishing up that business degree after I got it. And I did that part-time and one summer down at Indiana. So that's sort of where that came from.
But again, it definitely helps. I mean, what a great way to go. So talk about how you go from, obviously working in an office to getting, I would imagine for you, a dream job working at the Denver Nuggets as their general counsel, or a corporate attorney here. And you, how like you're going from in the office with a bunch of other lawyers to now you're like hanging out with NBA team and you're kind of living the dream, I would think. No?
Yeah, no, it was funny. It was happenstance. I hadn't planned on that. We had a client, Peter Bino, who was the chairman of the Illinois Sports Facility Authority. That was the sort of quasi-governmental entity that built the baseball park where the Chicago White Sox play. And then after that deal was done, we worked on that deal with him. He said he wanted to buy a NBA team. And so we worked with him on that. And I was, assigned to that project. And first we chased the New Jersey Nets for a while, but they had too many owners and they couldn't agree. And we wound up with, buying the Denver Nuggets in 1989, I guess it was. And Peter, got to know me and liked me. And so he hired me sort of to be his right-hand man because he wasn't going to be out there full time. And, what's interesting is that was the first minority-controlled professional sports organization in North America. So he, Peter and Bertram Lee, his partner in that deal, were two, Black entrepreneurs, and they put together the deal, and it was kind of fun that happened. And we had a good time out there, and then I got involved in the NBA, and I was an attorney, and everyone knows what the NBA really stands for, right? That's nothing but attorneys. So I fit right in, and it seemed to work for me, as I went on.
So now you're there for a couple of years, and then what ends up getting you to Toronto to be with the Raptors as it became an expansion team?
Yeah, well, Peter sold the team, and then I worked briefly for Tim Leiweke, who wound up running the Raptors and MLSE for a while. And then I left to do pay-per-view. So I worked in the pay-per-view industry back before it was all digital and automatic. So I did a lot of licensing work for boxing and wrestling and movies and things of that. And then the Toronto Raptors got the expansion franchise, and Isaiah Thomas, one of my former teammates at Indiana, was named as the general manager and part owner of the team. John Bitove is also an Indiana University grad who is the managing partner of that, one of the major owners. And I was in the right place at the right time, knew the right people, and it all worked out. So what an exciting time to work in that expansion of of a new business in a new country. It was, it really was an exciting time, and it's so great to see now where we started from and to where it is now, where the Raptors and part of MLSE and NBA champions and a very popular sport, and how it's helped grow the sport in Canada. It's been really a pleasure to see that develop over time.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, what was it like when you first got here? Because obviously Toronto's a hockey town, and the basketball knowledge wasn't that high when you guys got going. Did you find it was easy to get things off the ground? Was it kind of something that as a group you kind of need to educate the area on, hey, basketball's fun, come check it out?
Well, I knew it was going to be successful. And frankly, when I was working for the Denver Nuggets, we had attempted very unsuccessfully to relocate the Nuggets at one time, or we explored the opportunity to relocate the Nuggets to Toronto, because we were struggling financially in Denver, and Toronto was the most obvious market to go to, and we were connected. Peter and Bertram Lee were connected to Larry Tannenbaum. So that process that Larry engaged in started the whole expansion process that wound up ultimately with Vancouver and Toronto getting expansion processes. So it's funny how it has all tied together. But when we started in Toronto, it's a big project to launch a new team, a big business, and also try and build a new arena. And the competition between the Maple Leafs at the time and the Raptors to build arenas. The Maple Leafs wanted to build a new arena to replace Maple Leaf Gardens. We were required under the terms of the expansion agreement with the NBA to build a new arena, and we had a really tight time frame, so we had to move forward. And ultimately, we broke ground first at the site of what was then the Air Canada Centre down at the old Postal Delivery Building in downtown Toronto. And then, that didn't make any sense to build two arenas in Toronto. So ultimately, the Maple Leafs and the Raptors came together and formed what has turned into one of the premier sports organizations in the world in terms of Maple Leaf sports and entertainment.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it's worked out. It's definitely worked out pretty good for everybody. That's for sure. Now, you obviously were there, and you draft Vince Carter, and the team starts to become a national, draw. Like Vince becomes the number one highlight factory in the country of America, and people are going crazy. What's that? That's got to be an unbelievable thing to be a part of. What was that like?
Well, it was always fun. Like we always had a great reception from the fans. Like when we were playing in our first couple of years at Sky Dome, we had Damon Stoudemire. Isaiah Thomas has proven himself to be a great talent identifier. He drafted Damon with the 7th pick, I think, and he was the Rookie of the Year, an exciting player, small but competitive and talented. And then we drafted Marcus Camby, who had a long and great career. And then we drafted Tracy McGrady, and then Vince Carter. And so we were fortunate to be able to select a lot of good players in the draft. But Vince took it to another level in terms of his charisma and his athleticism and the whole thing. He not only excited the country of Canada and launched a new generation of talented NBA players coming from Canada. He also, was a rock star across the North America, the U.S. and the world. So it really brought positive energy and light to Toronto as a place to live, but also as a destination for NBA players. Because before that, it was always sort of difficult to get players to come over the border because there were a lot of misconceptions. But I think by now everyone realizes what a great place Canada is and what a great place Toronto is to live, work, and raise a family.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I'm from Vancouver, so obviously, I remember when Steve Francis had a dream and God told him not to come to Canada. We're all aware of that. But it's definitely changed for sure, especially the Raptors are now a free agent destination.
Yeah. Well, Vancouver is a great town too, and everyone really enjoyed coming there to play games as a visiting team. And I think it would be great if we could get another NBA franchise back there in Vancouver. Seattle is sort of in the same boat. They lost their team to Oklahoma City, so I assume that someday there's going to be a team returning to the Northwest, whether it's Vancouver, Seattle, or maybe both. Who knows? But certainly is a loss in terms of the circuit when teams travel. They miss going to Vancouver.
Totally. Well, I think your buddy Lywicki, he'll get one. He'll get one in Seattle pretty soon here, I would guess. I'll put him on the clock. He's got 3 years.
Yeah,
So
I'm lobbying for Vancouver. So, but there you go.
yeah, no kidding. So you end up going from Toronto, you end up being with the Knicks when Isaiah gets a job over there. So it's funny because people always talk about you don't need to go to university. University's not that important, but your connection to your entire resume is essentially the things that happened while you were in university, whether it's being a lawyer in downtown Chicago from Northwestern, or playing with your teammates at Indiana, and then making great relationships in the NBA. Like, couldn't be further from the truth for you. I mean, what an unbelievable career path it ended up taking you from Indiana.
Well, Isaiah's been a great friend and a big supporter of mine for a long time, and I owe him so much. He's, I think he suffered a little bit unfairly in a few different areas, but to me, he's always been a great friend. He's always treated me well. He's a smart, tough. Maybe sometimes he's too tough, I guess, but really a great person, and I've been blessed to be able to get to know him and call him a friend, just like a number of other people, as you mentioned, through my sporting days or university days. So it's the great thing about sport, that it allows people to come together and get to know each other from different backgrounds and things of that nature. So it's certainly benefited my life, and can't say enough about people like Isaiah or Mike Woodson or other folks like that.
So you end up with the Knicks. I mean, they're the crown jewel of sport, really. I mean, when they're winning, there's nothing bigger than the Knicks. And so what was it like to go to New York, live in Manhattan, be right in the middle of the action? That had to be something exhilarating.
Yeah, no, New York's a special place, as we all know, and to be able to live and work there was a great experience too. Got to work with some good people there too, besides Isaiah and Mike Woodson. There was Donnie Walsh and Mike D'Antoni and a lot of other folks. And to play in Madison Square Garden, it's just got a special feel, a special buzz. There's something to play there, and we had some success. My last year there, we had 54 games and wins in the regular season, and we had some injuries at the end of the season, unfortunately, that caught up with us. And I was hoping that we'd be able to play the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, but it wasn't to be. But I certainly appreciated the opportunity to work there, and like I said, it was something that my family and I really benefited from, to be able to go to New York and experience that. But happy to be back in Canada now, I'll tell you that too.
Yeah, no kidding. So you end up, that's true story, right? So like a lot of people, they come to Canada and then they want to go back home. But for you, it's actually the exact opposite. You went to Canada, you went back to America, and you're like, nah, I got to go back to Canada. So what took you back to Toronto? What was it like? How old were your kids at that time, roughly, when you ended up going back to Toronto?
Well, I think my youngest was in grade 7. So, I was, looking for other opportunities, and the opportunity to work at McMaster University in Hamilton came up through a good friend of mine and a friend of Bobby Knight's as well, Ron Foxcroft, who is not only was one of Canada's greatest officials, but he is also the inventor of the Fox 40 whistle, which is the first whistle, which is a whole other story. You should get him on to tell that story. Anyways, Ron was connected here in Hamilton with McMaster, and it was a great opportunity to work at a good university. And I learned a lot, and I think I grew in terms of the times had changed. The Canadian university sports system is different than the U.S. NCAA system, but there's still a lot of great people involved trying to do the right thing. And you do the best you can with, let's say, more limited resources than you might have in the U.S., but still, creating hopefully great experiences for youth and helping build that community.
Yeah, so like I would imagine when you got the job, the first thing you probably said is we got to scale this thing up. What was that? What was that? I mean, that from going from the Knicks to McMaster, not that there's anything wrong with McMaster. It's one of the premier educational institutions in our country, but it's definitely not the Knicks. So what was that like to be there and be like, okay, we need more resources. How are we going to go get more resources?
Well, it is tough. It is tough. Things are stretched very thin at the university level. So like I like to say that, in the NBA, you're an inch wide and a mile deep in terms of what you're working on. Like you're totally focused on the NBA team, maybe you have a G League team, but you're so focused on that sort of relatively small operation, right? But you have so many resources to devote to that and so many staff to support that. Where in Canadian university sport, you're an inch deep and a mile wide. You have so limited resources, you have so limited staff. We had over 1,000 students to look out for, and you're relying upon a lot of volunteer people that are well-intentioned and often very good coaches and great people. But you don't have the same supervisory capacity and the same ability to input and spend time with folks. So it's tough, and that can lead to some challenges and some issues, but you do the best you can. And I do think that in general, we had a few shortfalls, but we also, I think, created a lot of good experiences for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. So you're obviously now with Canada basketball. What got you to that position, and what's that been like so far?
Well, it was, I'd been a supporter of Canada basketball when I was with the Raptors as the general manager and served on their board of directors. And I knew, how much progress basketball in Canada has made, including Canada basketball. The opportunity came up, and I felt I could help make a difference. Our financial situation has always been challenged as well. We're not like a Hockey Canada or a Golf Canada or Tennis Canada, where they have some premier major events to, generate revenue from. And we don't have that. We participate in tournaments that are formed. So, I thought that maybe I could help not only in terms of helping manage the high performance and the grassroots development, but also in terms of putting together, business opportunities to provide a more sustainable business model for our organization, because the commitments required from FIBA now, as they try and expand their portfolio games and events, 3-on-3 is now a new sport in the Olympics. And so that's another obligation we have. Again, it really stretches our resources and our staff. But, I'm fortunate to have a great staff at Canada Basketball in all sorts of different positions, and a very supportive board, including, again, going back to relations, Brian Cooper, who is a marketing executive, a business executive, an entrepreneur, a brilliant sports executive, who is now the chairman of Canada Basketball. So to be able to work with Brian, who I first met in 1993, back when the Raptors were first forming, he was one of the executives in the original Raptors organization, and did a brilliant job in terms of marketing and game operations and sponsorships and things of that nature. So again, it's a relatively small world, I guess, sometimes, but Brian's been a huge asset, and I think his contributions and his experience and contacts will begin to pay off to Canada basketball shortly.
So what are some of the goals you guys have put in place that you guys want to achieve as a sports organization for our sport?
Yeah. So, we're the only organization in Canada that can represent Canada internationally in competitions, FIBA competitions. And so that unique role and responsibility is one of the primary focuses. So we want to be, a medal contender. So our women's senior team has been on a roll for a while. We just qualified for our third straight Olympics. We're now ranked 4th in the world, and we're hopeful that the Tokyo Olympics in 2021 we'll be able to bring a medal there, our first since 1936. And our men's program, had a setback a few years ago when we didn't qualify for the Olympics coming out of Venezuela, and the loss to Venezuela down in Mexico City. That, puts the way FIBA works in terms of its ranking systems really put us behind the 8 ball. So we have, a great portfolio of players to put out there. And, I'm hopeful that we will be able to qualify for the Olympics. So we are hosting the Olympic qualifying tournament in Victoria, thanks to a great group of people. Again, it's about bringing people together. A tremendous local organizing committee that has really gotten behind this event. I know it was postponed last year, of course, due to the pandemic, but we're trying to have a great Olympic qualifying tournament that's going to be preceded by a We the West festival, a basketball tournament, a basketball celebration, so to speak, in Victoria in the 2 weeks prior. And then we'll have a concert associated with it. We'll have an Indigenous Games tournament. We'll have a 3-on-3 and a wheelchair basketball tournament. So it's going to be really exciting leading up to that. And then a big concert on Canada Day. So look for that if your fans are out there in Victoria. Plan on going out there on the 29th to the 4th. And we're waiting for the NBA to resolve its season for next year. But we're very hopeful that the regular season will end in time so that players, at least those players on non-playoff teams or teams that are eliminated early in the playoffs, will be able to participate. So we'll not only have some of our great European players, but we'll be able to select from some of our NBA players too. And it'll be a great tournament. We're starting off against playing Greece, and then we have to play China, and then hopefully we'll be into the next round. And if we win the tournament, we're qualified for the Olympics. We've got Nick Nurse as our coach, and so we're very excited about the opportunities there. Again, basketball in Canada continues to grow, and that's the other thing that we're focused on besides the international performance is domestic development. So whether that includes making sure that coaches are certified and safe sport initiatives are adopted by people that are organizing basketball activities so that kids have a safe and enjoyable experience, or whether it's working with officials. We just formed the Canadian Basketball Officials Commission. So nationwide, we're trying to recruit and retain more officials and have them be better trained and more consistent across the country. Because if you don't have refs, you don't have games. And because the sport is expanding so much, we don't have the ability to ref all the games. And so we're working on that and doing great things there, but it's a challenge. And then finally making sure we have the facilities. Again, number of players increasing, number of games required. We don't have the facilities that are needed. And you look at across the country how many different sports venues, whether hockey arenas or tracks or things of that nature, are funded by the government. We haven't had one basketball-only facility constructed in this country outside of the Carsa Center at Victoria and at the University of Victoria. So again, we really need to develop the infrastructure so that our sport can meet the needs and demands of people that are interested in playing and supporting the sport.
Yeah, for sure. I think that last point's huge because I think the soccer people have great lobbyists. They seem to get a new field every month. But we never get one for basketball. So I mean, and you talk about Carsa, what a landscape changing facility that is out in Victoria for you to be able to host, major events there, and it totally changes the entire area. And I think that economic impact should be kind of translated to other places in the country because it's been unbelievably successful, I would imagine.
Well, Clint Hamilton, who's the athletic director at the University of Victoria, has done a great job there, but he's also the chairman of the local organizing committee for the Friends of Victoria Basketball to host the Olympic qualifying tournament. So again, a great group of people out there doing tremendous things, and I hope everyone puts on the calendar to head out to Victoria in June and July to see those games, but also experience the festival.
So let's talk, you've obviously had a lot of great leaders that you've been around in your time. Who would you say is the best leader, and what kind of made them special?
Oh, everyone's got their own leadership style and things of that nature. Bobby Knight obviously was a great leader, and a bit of maybe an old school approach to things. So that's that probably the times have changed. I'm not sure that we can do the same sort of things that were happening back then. Isaiah Thomas was a great leader, in terms of as a teammate, I saw his leadership capabilities and his ability to encourage and give people confidence and compete. lots of different leaders that I've been around and appreciate all of them. But I think everyone's got to be true to themselves, but also, believe that they can help others out too, which is basically what leadership is, helping other people be successful or come together as a group so that you can accomplish, common goals and be positive about that.
Yeah, sure. What if you had to go back in time and give a young Glen Grunwald a piece of advice and say, hey, maybe look at this. What would be maybe one or two of the tidbits that you would kind of give a younger version of yourself to say, hey, take a look at this?
I think I was always pretty reasonable and accurate in my evaluation of my abilities as a basketball player. But, at the same time, there are moments in time when you can only do certain things, right? And so I think if I had to do one thing over, it would be I would have, played professional basketball maybe a little bit longer over in Europe or something like that. I think, you can always go to law school and do that kind of stuff. But I think I would have enjoyed that experience of playing pro over in Europe. But that's okay. I've spent a lot of time in Europe scouting, and certainly it's a great environment over there to watch games. It's got sort of the soccer fan mentality, and so it's fun to go and watch those games. So I don't have any real regrets, but if there was one thing I might have done differently, that would have been it.
So if you could go back and do like one highlight or a couple highlights from your career so far, what would some of those be?
Well, one of one of the most enjoyable things and sort of was the first game of the Toronto Raptors. A lot of work had gone into getting ready for that. It was at Sky Dome. It was very emotional in the way because I think 3 days before that game, there was a referendum in Quebec to separate from the country. And although I was new to Canada, I did sort of realize the importance of that. And my most memorable part of that game was when the Bare Naked Ladies sang the national anthem. And when they switched over to the French lyrics in the middle of the anthem, the whole crowd erupted. And to celebrate that Canada was still one country and that Quebec was still part of it. That was my most memorable part of that opening that game, even though, it was also a lot of other things that were very memorable too. But that showed, I think, the power of sport to help celebrate and bring people together.
Yeah, I mean, what an unbelievable experience that would have been for sure. So you have, if you see one of these kids coming up right now and you see them at a young age, and you say, hey, that could be the next Jamal Murray or that could be the next Kelly Olynyk. What are some of the things that you think are the steps that these kids need to take to kind of, make sure they get their game to the next level? Because right now, a lot of them have to go to America to get better. What do we need to do to kind of keep them in Canada so that we can actually get them better?
Yeah. Well, our sport infrastructure is improving. And that's one of the benefits of Canada. Like each player is different, male or female, how far along they are in physical development. But one of the great things about Canada is that we have access to both development systems. So one system may be right for one player and not for another. But there's a lot of people involved in basketball that are trying to do the right things. But when you're sort of identified as an elite player, and I remember back in my day, which was a much simpler time, right? It was more your school. You didn't really have the whole AAU program, didn't have the recruiting of young players, and parents may not know about, what to do and who to listen to and who to believe. So it's very difficult for parents and players that are sort of being told how great they are. So I would say, you have to find someone that you can trust. And I think that's one of the things that we want to do both on our men's and women's high performance side, to be a resource to parents that are, getting recruited and hearing about, different promises and who to believe. Most of the people involved in basketball are good people, but not everyone is, out for the best interest of the player. And so I would say that making sure you have someone you can trust that you can talk to that's knowledgeable, and hopefully Canada basketball can help with that in some ways. And we're doing that. We're hopefully going to develop a club certification system where we have minimum requirements, making sure the coaches are certified, background checks, safe sport knowledge, concussions, things of that nature, making sure we have a reporting mechanism in case there is an issue or a complaint that can be brought up outside the organization, and then having the ability to make sure that people that shouldn't be involved with kids or not doing the right thing, that they can be reprimanded or taken out of the system. So that's one thing we're doing. The other thing I would say to players is it's something that Dick McGuire, a lot of people don't know who Dick McGuire is, but he's a Hall of Fame coach. He won the national championship at Marquette University many years ago. He told me, and a lot of my teammates, the same thing. He said, use basketball. Don't let basketball use you. And too often, kids think they're going to be, going to university on a scholarship, or they're going to go play NBA, or they're going to turn pro. And they should pursue that and not be discouraged from that. But there's also a realistic perspective that it might not work out. And so when kids at younger ages in high school don't pursue their academics as much as they should, they are limiting their options. They are, putting their eggs into one basket when they really should not do that. Like, you could be like me. Like, I was one of the top players in America in high school. Played in the McDonald's All-American game and all that good stuff. But I hurt my knee the summer before I went to Indiana University, and obviously it didn't help me very much. But I might not have been successful as a pro, anyways. But that certainly didn't help. And so I really encourage kids to do the right thing, get their education, and then make the right decisions and be realistic about it. But again, pursue your dreams and work at it. Because it is a great sport and a lot of good things can happen.
In that vein, we're using basketball to help yourself. I mean, realistically, a lot of the university athletes right now, they're kind of using this as a toss-away year. And I've been trying to tell kids, don't toss this year away, double down, get more classes done so that you can use your eligibility to get a master's by the time you're done. Just like kind of what you did, like if you can get a master's out of this thing, it's a huge opportunity for you.
Yeah, well, there's great opportunities, and again, it's making friends and building relationships. That's an important part of it too. And so to treat people well, like, just because you're a good basketball doesn't mean you're good at basketball, doesn't mean you're a better person or more valuable than anyone else. And I think to remember that as you go through the system, and make sure you respect everyone, whether it's your coaches or the referees or your teammates or your friends at school, and certainly your parents. That's an important thing to remember, because basketball is not the only thing, or sports are not the only thing. You need to try and be a good person all around.
I'll leave you with this question. If you were advising somebody who was, they saw your career trajectory and they're like, wow, I'd love to do something like that. What would you tell them coming out of high school? Like, what are some of the things that you think have helped make you successful and allow you to have such a fun variety of cool opportunities throughout your life?
Yeah, I don't think there's any one way now, and I think things are different. The sports industry has become bigger and more formal, and so there's lots of opportunities. So I would say that there are opportunities to work in the sports world, and so don't be discouraged, but it is also pretty competitive. So again, to build your resume, to have a good education, to work in the best organizations or work with the best organizations, to volunteer when you can, and gain valuable experience that way, and to build those relationships in that way. So, it's interesting from my days at Indiana University, some of the most, successful people were the team managers. And, and you think about why that is. Well, they're, selfless individuals. They're not doing it for the glory of being a basketball player. They're doing it because they like it and they like me supporting an organization. And so many of those guys are my friends, that they've been successful businessmen or bankers or teachers, sports administrators. I think, to be a manager and support a school team is another great way to learn about sport and to learn about working with people and learn about working hard for the right reason.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time. It's obviously a lot of time, and you got a lot of stuff going on. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Anthony, for having me, and look forward to seeing you some more.
Sounds good.